Hi, my name's Eddy Ankrett. Welcome to MyLife Biographies. I hope you enjoy this biography. It's got dark periods, it's got good periods, it's got black, it's got white, it's got kidnapping, it's got bowel cancer, it's got the creation of comic discount warehouses and my eventual flip into dating. Yes, dating, it touches everybody. It touches everybody watching this now, and I hope you find it interesting and inspirational. I really, really want you to be inspired by the end of it. Hi, my name is Eddy Ankrett. Welcome to my life biography. I hope you find it interesting and also inspiring. I was born in Birmingham, in a working class area of Birmingham, and I grew up going to a small independent school, which was for juniors, and then I went on to a senior school. Obviously, it was a working class upbringing, and the only thing that came out of my school education was that I was very, very good at sport. And for the last 2 years of my education, I had the England badminton coach who coached me in badminton, but didn't teach me anything that was academic. So he threw up a shuttlecock, I hit it, so of course I became a badminton player. But academically, I left school. I call myself academically stupid. When I was at school, obviously it came to the end of my education and the careers officer sat me down. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but they seemed to guide me towards becoming a salesman in retail, and I went to Hepworth's Tailors, where I was taken on as a junior salesman, and I stood in a line with all the other lads, and Mr. Bottrell said to me, "Edward, we want you to make the tea in the morning, fetch the sandwiches, do the same at lunchtime and the same in the afternoon." You could tell that my mum and dad bought me a suit, the old black shoes and a stiff collar. The thought of making the tea I felt was awful, but what could I do about it? So I started making the tea. There was 35 staff in the shop in the centre of Birmingham. The company was called Hepworth's, and when I started going out, fetching the sandwiches, fetching the toast in the morning, and also the lunchtime sandwiches and the afternoon stuff that they wanted, I suddenly realised that it also helped my social life because I could chat with all the girls in the stores, and also, if I got to know them and chatted them up and took them on dates, I could also get discounts. So I suddenly realised that if I bought myself a toaster, did the sandwiches myself, I could actually make more money doing that, and that's what I did. So I started getting lots of dates, which was super in the evenings, but in the daytime I started taking the money off the guys, doing the sandwiches myself, and in the end I ended up making £25 a week when my actual salary at the shop was £4.50 a week. So of course when Mr. Bottrell, after a year, said to me, "Edward, we're very pleased with what you've done. We're now going to promote you to the shop floor and increase your salary to £7.50 a week, and I want you to train little Johnny, who is going to take over from you," I cried, because I suddenly thought, A, my social life's going to go for a ball of chalk, but also my income was going to go down from £25 plus my £4.50 down to £7.50 a week. But anyway, I had to do it, but then I moved on, and then I went from there to a tailoring shop in Small Heath. From there I went into radio TV selling, and I went as manager of a TV shop on the Coventry Road in Small Heath, and I started enjoying working in the radio TV industry. I then got promoted to a shop in West Bromwich on the High Street, and it was called Top Rank Home and Leisure. And this little shop was so small you could walk past it and not realise it was there. So because a lot of my customers were Asians, I used to, when they came in the door, say to them, could you teach me a little bit of your language? So I learnt Salam alaikum, walaikum salam, which is good morning, God bless you, how are you? And Tiga, which is good. And when people used to come in, I used to say this to them, so they used to be really, really impressed. And because there were so many Asians in West Bromwich, the shop became very successful, sold lots of shortwave radios, until one day somebody came in and I said to them, what's a certain word for say thank you? And he taught me this word. And the next person that came in, I was talking to him and I then said this word to him. And he said, what did you say? And I went, did it again? And he said, you've just told me to F off. I said, oh my God. So obviously my little ruse of being a super guy sort of went wrong for that one. But anyway, so I'm in this shop. And again, as I mentioned at the start, it's a little shop and nobody knew it was there. So I decided to get some speakers. In the old days, we used to have speaker systems. And so I put 2 speakers out the front of the shop and I put on music. And as people walked past, of course, they heard the loud music and they looked at my shop. So it worked. But the only problem was all the retailers in the area complained about me. Along came the press. The press did a story on me, front page story, and I got actually taken away by the police because for disturbing the peace. So again, it worked, front page story. So that was my that was my experience in West Bromwich. I then got my first job as a representative for Hot Point washing machines. I became the youngest representative. And I was the rep for the West Midlands, and lo and behold, they gave me a Cortina 1600E with wood dash inside, and I thought, I've made it, executive car, and I used to go out and see all these customers. Of course, I got on with everybody. I loved the job. I became one of their top salesmen, and there's lots and lots of stories around the fun I had as a representative for Hot Point. But then I did that for a number of years, and then I saw a job advertised as regional manager for Kenwood Mixers. So there was a man called Ken Wood who interviewed me, and he made these fabulous Kenwood chefs, which I'm sure everybody's heard of. So I became the regional manager for Kenwood, and in those days, anything north of the Watford Gap, companies didn't really want to know about. So I was regional manager for the North, Scotland, Ireland, and I had all these demonstrators in the department stores demonstrating the Kenwood chefs. And I had a great life, and I really, really enjoyed it. Until one day I had to go to Hull, which is before the motorways, and it is a long, long way to go. So I booked a hotel and I went and saw a man who had a company called Comet Radio Vision. And his dad had died, left him the company. His name was Michael Hollenbury. His dad had left him the company, and he was an accountant, and we started talking, and of course we got on to him buying some stock, which I think he did, and he then said to me, "You're staying overnight?" And I said, "Yes." And he said to me, "Well, can I bring somebody to see you?" I said, "Of course you can." So he brought this man called Jerry Mason, who was the chairman of New Hunslick Rovers Rugby Club, and we had a conversation, and what came out of that was the start of Comet Discount Warehouses. So I, in the end, the following morning, crazy to think about it now, I rang up Kenwood and I resigned and said I want to give my notice in, and I started as sales manager in those days for Comet Discount Warehouses, and my friend Nick Lightower was the buyer, I was the salesman, and we opened our first warehouse in Armory Road, Leeds. As we all know, Comet then took off and became a hugely successful company, and I was basically the salesman, sales director, and we opened warehouse after warehouse after warehouse. 40 warehouses were opened, and I had a fantastic job. I had a fantastic time. I had a new car every 3 months if I wanted it. So much money was being made, and it was a fascinating experience. So I did that, and then because I'd made a name for myself with Comet, I started getting headhunted. So the headhunting happened and I got offered the MD-ship of Seiko watches, but I didn't feel I knew anything about watches. Seiko were using an agent but wanted to bring their product directly to the country and open their own company, but I didn't feel that I knew much about watches. But then along came Mitsubishi, and they had a company called Teleton, and they offered me managing director and marketing director of Europe. And I had this manor house in Essex with a moat around it. I had a fabulous Jaguar, and I had made it. So here I am now as managing director of Teleton, which is part of Mitsubishi, and at the age of 31, leaving school with no qualifications, only good at sport, academically stupid, my mouth and my personality got me to where I wanted to be. I did say to my mother at the age of 30, I wanted to be a sales manager and earn £3,000 a year. Lo and behold, I ended up as a managing director of a large multinational company and a great salary and fabulous expense account. What I suddenly realised by taking that job was that I was wearing a striped suit every day and I was travelling the world and I didn't enjoy it. Before I got that job, I used to play squash 2 or 3 times a week, and I used to go at the lads on a Wednesday and Friday. Lo and behold, all that went for a ball of chalk. I was travelling Monday to Friday, coming back at weekends, and too knackered to do anything at the weekends. And I thought, this is not the life that I wanted, but I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. So I went to Mr. Tanaka and said, I'm going to go. And he said, please don't go, we all like you. And I said, but I'm not happy. And he said, well, have 6 months off, have a sabbatical, and let's talk again. I said, I'm not coming back. So I came back to Birmingham, where I'd been married, I'd gone through a divorce because of my passion for success. I had a son called Mark, who was tragically born with spina bifida. His life ended up in a wheelchair. So I came back to Birmingham, and basically I decided, what am I going to do? I'm financially sort of semi-independent, and I thought I'd get back to playing squash, which I did, got back to seeing Mark, got back to going out with the lads on a Wednesday and Friday, and lo and behold, at the squash club I met a man called Clive Turner, who had a small company in Selly Oak called Ward Turner, which was an estate agent. And I said to him, oh, I'd like to become an estate agent because I'm a marketing man. The biggest thing that anybody ever owns in their life is a property, and estate agents, in my opinion, don't sell houses. People go along to estate agents and they buy houses and they go and do their own viewing, and the vendors do their own selling. And I thought, this is crazy. So I would love to get into estate agency. And Clive said, but you've got no experience. I said, Clive, that's not a problem. Let me work for you for 6 months for nothing at all, no salary, just out-of-pocket expenses. And if at the end of 6 months I impress you, I'd like some shares and I'd like a senior position in the company. 6 months later, Clive made me sales and marketing director and obviously gave us some shares. We then worked and grew that company to 13 shops, and something along that road told me that we got to expand. And I said to Clive, we've got to expand. And Clive found this company locally called Dixon, Dobson and Carver, and they had about 26 shops, very, very traditional, with loads of chartered surveyors, and again, they didn't sell houses. So Clive worked and merged these two companies together. I became marketing director and I created a brand called Dixon's Estate Agents. They allowed me to go to America to see how they sold houses in the States. And in the States, as we all know, they put people in cars, they take them out, and they actually sell houses. So I came back to the UK. I brought back the training system, which was then called Psycho-Cybernetics. And I met a chap called Greg Rigby, who was one of the best trainers I've ever met in my life, and basically came up with a brand called Dixon's Sell Houses. And that slogan was not only to tell the public that's what we do, it was also to tell the staff that's what we do. And we opened up all the offices, open planned them, we employed new staff, and I've got to tell one funny story. Part of the training system was employing lots of new salespeople to sell houses. And we put an advert in the Birmingham Mail, and if you want to become an estate agent, turn up at the Grand Hotel on Saturday morning for an interview. When it came to Saturday morning, they were queuing round the block of the Grand Hotel, which ended up being a photograph on the front page of the Birmingham Mail. And people used to come in, or came in, and they used to sit in rows, and they used to have to pass an intelligence test to come to an interview with me. The intelligence test was as simple as, who's the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth, Elton John, or Madonna? Of course, it was pretty simple to do it, and if they got 70% of the questions right, they came for an interview with me. And when they walked in the room, I'd say, hello, my name is Eddy Ankrett. All I'd like you to do is stand on that chair and do me an impression of a chicken. They used to look at me. Some would stand on the chair and go, do an impression of a chicken, and some would say no. If they said no, it was thank you very much. You haven't been successful, goodbye. Some of the people with real personality and real bottle would say to me afterwards, would you do it? So I used to have to stand on the chair and do an impression of a chicken. But those people got a special tick from my point of view because they got that extra bottle in asking me to do it as well. So basically all that was for was to actually say to somebody, if I tell you to do something, will you do it? And we had a sign on the front of the training course which said, don't think, do. We knew how to sell houses, and the problem when you employ people, they always think they know how to do it better. But they didn't. We knew how to sell houses, and that was the slogan at the front, don't think, do. Anyway, Dixon went on to be the most successful company in the Midlands selling houses, and we became the biggest advertiser ever on ATV, which is the local, it's ITV today, radio station. And because we were so successful, I even had a personal lunch with Sir Lou Grade, who in those days was the head of ATV, and I've got lots of funny stories around meeting Sir Lou Grade. So Dixon's became a great success, and as the years went by, we moved from a small office to a big head office, and the company just grew and became more successful, and in the end the company got sold to Hambro Countrywide, and at the same time I was getting headhunted by other people, and I got approached to become managing director of Shipways, the estate agents. So it's the same business in the same area, and it was a great brand. So I joined Shipways as managing director, and again I had a wonderful life. I had an office in Solihull, I had my own PA, I had my Jag, and I was really good at the job. I got on with all the staff, and it was a job that I wouldn't have wanted to give up, because every social event that was going, every golf meeting, every race meeting, every social thing that happened, I was invited, and of course I was quite good socially. So my life was wonderful, going in the right direction, and suddenly in 1992 I was at a lunch at the Metropole Hotel. I had a phone call to say, Mr. Ankrett, one of our staff at the Great Bar office, called Stephanie Slater, has been kidnapped. I went, what? Anyway, long story short, they went round to the house, they found the car, they found the keys, they cut the keys, and she had been kidnapped. So the instruction was, get the police. I drove straight from the Metropole Hotel to the Great Bar office, and for the next 8 days I was going between the control centre, which was in Nechells, which the police set up, to the Albany Hotel, where they also set up another unit, and also if I needed to change, if I needed to have a change of clothes, etc., they would take me home and then take me back to the control centre. So it was the most amazing experience. And on the night that Stephanie was kidnapped, the police said to me, would you please go to the home of Stephanie and please talk to the parents? And I said, but I'm not trained to do an emotional thing like that. But they said, but you're the managing director, they want to see you. So I walked into this house, and these two lovely, lovely people kept saying, please, Mr. Ankrett, get her back alive. And all I could say was, I'll do my best. And the only thing I could think of doing was joining hands with them and saying a prayer. So anyway, the next 8 days were traumatic, to say the least. I didn't realise that you could be so stressed that you can't speak, but that's what stress can do to you. Anyway, the good news is we got her back alive, and then we had this press conference at the Tally Ho in Edgbaston, and suddenly the news broke worldwide, and my God, was it a big story. So then, following that, it took 2 years to catch this guy called Michael Sams. It took 2 years to catch him, and in the end he was put down for 4 life sentences because he'd actually murdered a girl also called Julie Dart, who was in Leeds. So I got through that, and then tragically 6 months after that, my son Mark, who was my life, was put into a special head hospital in Smethwick, and tragically died at 26 of a high brain hernia. And I had one of the worst experiences any man could ever have. I was then called to the hospital by the doctors with my then wife to say, Mr. Ankrett, please, we need to ask you, can we turn the life support machine off? There's no hope. And I said, but you've just asked me that question, so logically I'm going to say I want a second opinion. So I got a second opinion for Mark, but of course it was tragic. So I had to say in the end, yes, turn the life support machine off. So in a short period of 6 months, I had the kidnapping, I lost my son, I was also married at the time, and the lady that I was married to, I don't think really loved me, and basically we went through a divorce. So I found myself on my own. I was made redundant by Shipways, which I think was so unfair, so cruel. But maybe I couldn't really focus on work, and also I had the issue of losing my son. So here I am now, with no job, no son, and obviously I was on my own. I went down a massive black hole, and I didn't realise there was a future. So here I am, down the black hole, not knowing what my future would hold. I used to have to drink a bottle of red wine every night to go to sleep. I didn't like me, I didn't like life, and I wondered, what's the future? And then one day, I was looking in the mirror, and this is what everybody knows about me. I'm a little bit arrogant. I call it truthful. When I look in the mirror, I see somebody fantastic, somebody good, somebody handsome, somebody etc., etc. And I thought to myself, this is not you. Come on, you've got to dig deep and you've got to find the inner you. And then one day I was in Solihull and I was sitting having a coffee outside a coffee bar, and a lady next door to me suddenly said, I hope you don't mind me telling you, but I can see this aura around you and you're a good spirit. And I went, no, I know I'm a good spirit. She said, no, it's an aura around you, and I can see a little boy and a woman with you. And the little boy's telling me his name's Mark. And I went, whoa, 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 whoa. That is a little bit close. I said, thank you for telling me that. And basically I kept in touch with that lady. She wasn't a clairvoyant, but obviously she must have had some spiritual connection. And it made me realise that from leaving school, the one thing that I was good at, or felt good at, was religious knowledge. And I've been on this journey to find a religion I could believe in. And I went to a Jamaican church, Jewish church, born-again Christian church, obviously a normal Christian church. I went to all these different churches. But each time I got close to any form of religion, I could see them trying to control me, tell me what to do. And I thought, this is not right. And when I got home from seeing that lady, I sat on the settee, and as I did, I got my glass of red wine, and I started to think about my day and talking to this lady, and I suddenly went, oh my gosh, I've got my lifetime journey, and I now know what my belief is. And I suddenly realised that in life there's all these yin-yang phrases: stop, go, in, out, yes, no, God, devil, and you could write a list of about 40 of them. And I suddenly realised that the spirit that was connecting me and that lady, the spirit that's now connecting us in this video, that spirit, some people call it energy, I believe that spirit is God. Some people say God can just be a word. But to me, if you want to have belief in anything, then believe in the good spirit. There is a good spirit here, watching this video. And I decided from there, I was down at such a low level that I was going to get one of my technical people to set up the Good Spirit Foundation. The Good Spirit Foundation.co.uk is there for everybody to look at. It's completely non-profit. It's just my story, and it's my story about finding this belief. So there we are. So I've got this belief now. I've got this anchor to take me forward. What I realised when I found my spirit was that when it comes to sport, I'm a man's man. But apart from that, I enjoy a woman's company. And I was on my own, and I thought, I'd like to meet a lady because they're self-sufficient, they're good to look at, and they're nice to talk to. So I thought, I'll have a look at dating. And I looked around, and the only thing that existed in those days was a brand called Dateline. And you used to have to fill in a form, send it off, and they used to send you back a dot matrix printout, which was the first computerised dating agency. But I thought, no, that's not for me. So I created a brand called Elite Introductions in Sutton Coldfield, which is where I lived in those days. And I had this unique headline: you are unique, so is my service. And I started a matchmaking company. It's called Personal Matchmaking. And what happens, I put an advert in the paper, people would ring up, I'd go out to see them in the comfort of their own home, and I'd take a photograph, I'd do a profile of them, and I'd go away and I would match them to people on my database. And lo and behold, you won't be surprised to find it took off, and it became, again, a great success. I suddenly realised after a year that I'd made really good money, and I thought to myself, how can I grow this? And I thought, I know, I could franchise this brand. So I decided to franchise the brand. I joined the BFA as an associate member, and I started to franchise Elite Introductions. And lo and behold, it became a very, very popular franchise. Because if you ever look for a franchise and you look around, you don't really want to do drains. You don't really want to do half of the stuff that is franchised. You want something that emotionally engages you. Maybe like My Biography. That could be a great franchise. And lo and behold, dating became a popular franchise. And within 18 months, I'd sold all the franchises and made a lot of friends and really enjoyed it. At the same time, because the dating industry didn't have the greatest image in the world, I also decided to set up the ISF, which is the Introduction Services Federation, which became an industry body, which here we are many, many years later. Just to tell you, that was 1992 that I started. Here we are, 2022, and still to this day, that association still exists, but now it's called the Dating Agency Association. So that company became very successful. We franchised it, and as soon as the franchises were sold, I actually thought to myself, what am I going to do now? And luckily for me, along came a public company called Columbus Publishing with a super guy called Nigel Bartlam, and he'd bought Dateline. And he said, I'd like to buy your company. So in the end, I sold my company to Columbus Publishing. I became then, by dint of complete fluke, chairman of Dateline, which also had Elite Introductions as part of it. And strangely enough, 3 or 4 years later, I bought the company. So that phrase that came out of Alan Sugar, I like the company so much, I bought it. I'm one of those guys. So there I am now in Dateline, and I was travelling between the UK and Guernsey, Tuesday to Thursday, somewhere like Guernsey. Such a small island. For me, with my personality, it was too restricting. I didn't really enjoy it. So in the end, I came back and resigned from there. And lo and behold, I'd started actually through the ISF mentoring and making a friend of a chap called Ross Williams, who had a company called White Label Dating. And with his friend Steve, who was his partner, I became good friends with him, mentor, and in the end became a shareholder of White Label Dating. And we grew that from £50,000 a month to £4 million a month turnover. £4 million a month. And when I used to come home, if I wanted to excite myself before I went to bed, I used to go upstairs, look at the computer, and log on to White Label Dating and see all the subscriptions coming in. And that was going 24 hours a day. An amazing, amazing business. And we got contracts to do the dating for Heart FM, Smooth FM, Classic FM, anybody with a high traffic website. We would obviously provide them with a website for free and share the revenue 50-50. What a fantastic model. In the end, when that grew, I sold my shares in White Label Dating, and then I decided, I came back to Birmingham. Okay, I moved then to Solihull, and I missed something very, very important. When I had Elite Introductions, a lady applied for Elite, and she joined. Her name was Susie, who is now my wife 25 years later. And so I did meet her through my introduction agency, which is a wonderful, wonderful story. So here I am, sold my shares in Elite Introductions. I come back to my home, which is now in Solihull with Susie, and I decide I want to become a non-exec chairman, a non-exec director. I want to now help people, do more mentoring, and I want to start giving back because of the success I've had. When I sold my shares in White Label Dating, I came back to Solihull, which is where I was now living, and someone said, you are a brand in your own right, why don't you have your own website? So I developed eddyankrett.co.uk, which is still there today, and that site wasn't really for getting any more business or getting any sort of jobs or anything like that. I wanted to give back. I wanted to do more non-exec work, more non-exec chairman work, and my life was going in a direction. I was now 70, and for my 70th, my wife said, "Where do you want to go in the world?" And I said, "Do you know what I'd love to do? I just saw a program on TV, Michael Portillo on the trains." I said, "I would love to see my own country. I've been everywhere on business, but I've never stopped and looked at my own country." So I wanted to go up to Scotland on a train. I wanted to tour Scotland, go up to Thurso, right at the top of Scotland. I want to stand on the top of my own island and just say, "Here I am." And I wanted to do the opposite down at Land's End. So I wanted to look at my own country, and over the next few years, I've done the Lake District, Peak District, Pembrokeshire, New Forest. I've been to Kent. I've seen my own country, and what a fabulous, fabulous country it is. And also, as you get older, what becomes your priority is your health. And for me, protecting and boosting my immune system is actually something that now has become very important to me. So I have work, it keeps the energy, keeps the enthusiasm, keeps the passion. But then I take quite a lot of natural tablets, which my friend has convinced me will boost my immune system. It may all be a placebo, but for me, it seems to be working. I'm shooting this biography at the age of 77, and maybe I could just say I don't look too bad for 77. So I take all those natural tablets, and also I try and go to the gym still 3 times a week, even with buggered knees and also something called peripheral neuropathy in the feet, which I haven't got particularly good balance. But health, gym, work and tablets, i.e. natural tablets, are important to me. When I was 70, I went up to Scotland, as I told you the story about it, and lo and behold, I was made a legal lord. I went to a place called Dunans Castle and presented with a lordship, and my wife is a lady as well. The only problem is, and I don't mind saying it as a joke, my friends bought it on Groupon. So lo and behold, when I go to the golf club, my own golf club, people say, "Here comes Lord Groupon." Whilst all this is going on, life is not too bad. I'm 70 and protecting my immune system, travelling, loving work, loving people. And then smack, one day my doctor sends me for a blood test, go for an endoscopy, go for a colonoscopy, and lo and behold, I'm taken into a room and told, "You got bowel cancer." Now, I'm sure everybody watching this would think, if you're told you've got any form of cancer, you think, this is the end. So I came out of the hospital, and again I felt my life was going to change. But typically of me, I came back, I got a file, and I put right on the front of the file, Project Positive. And I'm a great, great believer in positivity. And whilst I get to that, let me just say this here and now. Throughout my life, part of my personality is positive. Everything has got to be positive. I believe every negative, if you look hard enough for it, you'll find a positive. I do appreciate that as you listen to this story and watch this story, when I had the kidnapping and my son died and I went through the divorce and I went down the black hole, even I lost the positivity in my life. But I then realised that negative is a destroyer. And everybody in life has 2 choices. One, to look at things in a positive way or look at things in a negative way. One of my things about life which I find so disappointing. I think 80% of people default to negative, 20% default to positive. I'm one of those 20%, and I want to encourage you to be one of those 20%. So when you get a choice in life for anything, choose positive, not negative. So, luckily for me, the bowel cancer hadn't gone through the bowel wall, and I found a fabulous consultant called David MacArthur, and he was able to cut out the cancer and take out any other bits that were there, and he cut out the cancer, sent off all the other stuff just to be examined, and lo and behold, I got a clean bill of health. So I went for a few more scans over the next couple of years to be told, Eddie, everything's clear, I don't want to see you for 5 years. So to say I was lucky and the good spirits were looking after me, it's amazing. And every night when I go to bed, I don't pray, I talk to my good spirits. All the people in my life who have been and gone, who've passed, who I think are very good spirits. So I talk to them every single night. On top of that, the two things that have been consistent throughout my life are music and sport. Sport because I was a good badminton player, good squash player. Now I'm not a bad golfer. And music because music has always been there for me at the saddest times and also at my happiest times. And as this is my video autobiography, I would like to just say the one thing that's never let me down in life is music. People will let you down, but music will never let you down. It'll be there for you whenever you want it, whenever you need it. So music is one of the greatest constants in my life. So I'm on this journey. I'm now doing what I want to do through my little website, eddyankrett.co.uk, and I meet a locksmith, and his name is Kevin, and he's just been a locksmith for years and years and years. And I said to him, do you know, we could franchise that business. And through my partner, Andy Moore, and myself and Kevin Russell his name is, we decided to develop a brand called Lockfit. So that was 2 years ago. We developed the brand, and to this day, as I'm shooting this biography, we are now the largest lockfit company in the country. We franchised it, and we have over 80 areas sold, and we can see this growing well past 100 areas, and I believe it has the potential to go throughout Europe, Australia, and maybe the world. So that business came just because I enjoy people, I've got a passion for people, I've got a passion for business, and by noticing that Kevin and the locksmith industry needed a national brand. Here I am, 77, I'm enjoying people, I'm enjoying the passion, I've still got the enthusiasm, and obviously I'm still making money, which is the profit. And then I met Peter, who does MyLife Biographies. This is one of them, and surprise, surprise, we're going to franchise it, and you too could have the opportunity of doing a biography and offering it to so many people that would like their lifetime story on video. Two of the most important things that have happened recently in my life over the last 25 years was one, meeting Susie, who had joined Elite Introductions, and we met through that, and we've been happily married ever since. And then about 5 years ago, because we haven't got any children, we decided we'd look for a little dog. And Susie had found that she wanted a Cavapoo. So I went to Dudley and found this little Cavapoo called Alfie George. and Alfie George is now very much part of our life, and he's broken through the exterior, and I love him so much, and obviously my wife Susie I love so much, and we're looking forward to spending more time at our home in Marbella when the weather in the UK is not too good, and also spending time with little Alfie George, and the future is looking good. So here we are at the end of my life biography. What would I like to say? I'd like to say I've got another good 20 years in me. I've still got my passion. I've still got my enthusiasm. I love people, and I see so many opportunities for my health, for my work, for all the people that I meet. Do you know, I'm one of these people that believes everybody can be a star, everybody can be successful, but most people have a choice of whether they want to or they don't want to. And the more people I can encourage, the more people I can help, the more people I can say hi to, and I've always got time to say hi and have a chat. So if you ever need somebody to talk to mentor, I'm here. So that's the end of my life biography. Thank you so much for having the patience to watch and listen to me. And you could also have your own My Life biography.